Hi guys, it's Mariah. Today is going to be a super bummer video with hopefully some good tips about pest control. We have a variety of pests that can affect your gardens, and so we're going to talk about how to control some of the most common that we experience on the Blackfeet Reservation. The issue that I'm dealing with right now, after I just returned from about a week away, is a terrible batch of flea beetles that are taking over my raised beds. Flea beetles are these nasty little black bugs that jump like fleas and love to eat brassicas especially, which means that the kale and the broccoli are totally demolished right now. However, flea beetles can be killed on contact with a blast of soapy water. So if you just get a little spray bottle, fill it with a little bit of Dawn dish liquid and some water, you can just mist the flea beetles and that will actually kill them. So of course, the first treatment, the first time you go through and spray, it's not going to kill all of the flea beetles, which means that you'll need to keep repeating that process over a few days. That said, if you do that, you should really be able to get the issue under control pretty fast. That said, I have some plants that have just been totally decimated, and after spraying, it's probably best that I'm just going to cut those down and throw those into the fire. The problem is that my broccoli plants are planted with carrots, and the carrots I plan on leaving into the season into the fall, and so I need to be able to save the carrots. Even if I pull out the broccoli and throw them into a fire, I want to make sure that the flea beetles are not going somewhere else or are going to burrow into the ground where they will seek haven. So soapy water, great for flea beetles. Also great for other types of pests like aphids. So aphids are going to be these little green bugs that are going to produce a honeydew-like nectar by chewing on your plant's sap. And unfortunately, that pops holes in your plants and it can really harm your plants. Aphids tend to not target plants that are really healthy. So if you see an aphid problem, there was probably already a weakness going on, maybe a nutrient deficiency, maybe a lack of water, maybe too much water happening with your plants already. That said, you can occasionally get aphids in perfectly healthy gardens, and ants may also farm aphids because they love the sweet honeydew nectar in the aphids. So a great way to control aphids is also warm or soapy water, which is going to damage their ability to breathe. But also, you can just take some cold water and blast aphids off of the underside of the leaves of your plants every morning. And after a few days of that, you should really disturb the aphids' presence. And assuming your plants are healthy, those aphids shouldn't come back. So lots of good simple things with just soapy water. The other thing that works really great as a pest control is something called neem oil. Neem oil is a compound harvested from the neem plant, which is indigenous to India, and neem has been used for thousands of years as an organic pesticide because it actually will kill off and dissuade the pest bugs from coming onto your plants and eating them. So you can mix some neem oil in a sprayer. Because it's an oil, it will stay a little bit longer than just soapy water or a blast of cold water will, but it will have a flavor to it. So if it's something like brassicas or lettuces where you're eating the leaves, you really want to make sure that you're rinsing those things off with good soapy water so that you're not getting the flavor of the neem oil on your food. The other thing that's really great for pest control is good positive bugs. Lacewings and ladybugs especially love to eat aphids, but they will also eat things like these flea beetles as well as a couple of other pest species. So you may want to look into buying ladybugs or lacewings and then making a really good environment where they want to stick around and keep eating aphids. Ladybugs and lacewings as adults will eat a fair number of aphids, but it's their larvae that will actually eat a ton. So you want them to stick around long enough to reproduce, where their babies will become the best pest control in your garden that you can have. So if you look out in your garden and you see ladybugs, that's a really great sign. It means that they are hopefully keeping your pest populations in check. The other option is to look at planting certain species of plants around your garden that are going to inhibit a lot of your pest bugs. So great options for flea beetles include planting mint, which most of you guys have in your garden anyway, which makes a great deterrent for some of these pests. Mint is a wonderful plant to have for our tea plants, but also great at keeping away flea beetles. The other thing that's really great is to have things in the allium genus, like chives, like onions, like garlic. All of those things are also going to be great pest control. So that is the reason why this lovely herb garden doesn't have the flea beetle issue with the beds right next door have. That said, if I were to plant some chives in these beds next year, hopefully that'll keep the issue under control.
As you can see here, pests can also include cows, horses, bears, deer, and other grazing animals. They can absolutely decimate your garden overnight, and the best way to keep this under control is honestly just to put up a fence. In this case, an electric fence, which is going to keep away even the biggest bears and keep your garden or your ducks safe. I know that a few folks have had issues with grasshoppers, but I don't have any grasshopper footage, so you guys get to watch this generic, creepy video while I talk about some ways to prevent grasshoppers in your garden. You could definitely plant some certain species of plants that grasshoppers will avoid, and that can help keep them out of your garden. These include sage, both culinary and man sage, things in the Artemisia genus, as well as lilac and juniper. You can also plant squash, peas, and tomatoes, which grasshoppers also don't like. Grasshoppers also hate hot peppers, and so you can actually spray your plants with a hot pepper spray, which will make everything taste like hot peppers to the grasshoppers, which will also then help them avoid them. If you don't have chickens or ducks that you can turn loose on the grasshoppers, then you can set up posts where wild birds can perch and survey your garden to pick out which grasshoppers they'd like to feast on. Grasshoppers can be particularly challenging to deal with as they can eat 50% of their own body weight in vegetation every single day. Good luck. Finally, because aphids are going to be your most common garden pest, I wanted to give you guys an up-close and super gross video that shows you exactly how they function. This video is by PBS.
Got a plant? There's probably an aphid for that. They're a nightmare for anyone growing veggies. There are thousands of types with all kinds of looks. And they seem to pop up overnight. Before you know it, they're everywhere. Ugh. They pierce leaves and stems with their stylet and suck out sugary sap, leaving the plant yellow and wilted. While they're not particularly fast or well-armored, aphids are highly skilled at one thing: making babies. Most of the time, they give birth to live young instead of laying eggs. That's different from most other insects. Aw, she's got her mother's eyes. An aphid mom can push out 5 or 6 nymphs a day, sometimes more. And she doesn't need to find a mate to do it. Most of the time, aphids just clone themselves. You can see the eyes of her clones growing inside her. And here's the really wild part. Her babies are born already pregnant. In a week or two, they'll start giving birth to clones of their own. That's why it only takes a single aphid to infest your greenhouse or garden. When the buffet starts getting crowded and it looks like their food might run out, aphids switch gears. They produce a different kind of clone. See those light gray shoulder pads on the one on the right? They unfurl into wings. Yep, winged clones called alates. They look different, but they're still genetically identical to their mothers. When they're ready, the alates take to the air to search out new plants to colonize. A gathering this big attracts some hungry party crashers, like this ladybug. So some aphids strike a deal with ants. The ants treat aphids like dairy cows, looking after them and guarding them from predators. When these ranchers are thirsty, they tap on the aphids with their antennae. But instead of milk, these ant ranchers are looking for a tall drink of sweet aphid honeydew. That's the sugary waste that comes out of an aphid's, backside. So is there anything that can stop these aggravating, endlessly self-replicating pests? Some growers use oils or insecticides. Others sick predators on them, like lacewing larvae. Or even unleash parasites, like these wasps. The female wasp uses her sharp ovipositor to inject an egg into the slow-moving aphids. When the wasp egg inside hatches, the larva eats and eats, hollowing out its host and turning it into a little mummy. When it's ready, the adult wasp chews its way out to start the cycle again. These tiny mummies are a gruesome sight, but they're one that let gardeners breathe a sigh of relief. Hi, Deep Peeps, it's Laura. Did your charming image of ladybugs just get shattered? Not to worry, they still have a softer side. Every winter, they gather by the thousands in a big old cuddle puddle. Thanks, and see you soon.